Okay, guys, listen, something was brought to my attention a few days ago. I wasn't able to do a video on it because I've been kind of under the weather, feeling icky and stuff, but I'm feeling better now. So I want to talk about this because it's really, really, really important. Um, this is about our timelines and, the Mandela effect, deja vu, uh, the looking glass and the black cube and yellow book, remote viewers, star seeds, people that Dolores Cannon have hypnotized and interviewed. They all talk about this future timeline where two timelines are funneling down to one, right? And even like Hopi prophecies and other indigenous tribes that have prophecies of a future event, they talk about some type of pulse and two roads going into one, or two timelines going into one. Um, in space science and astrophysics, stuff like that, we're coming to understand now that there are more than one dimensions. Um, that's not a guess. That's a fact, and that uh, there's likely more than one of you and more than one of me in every one of these dimensions, which also means there's more than one Earth, and so on and so forth. Okay. So, what I'm getting to here is some very interesting video footage was brought to my attention a few days ago that, like, in real time, physically shows where you can see with your own eyes. I think our timelines just converged. Like, talk about uh, Velikovsky's worlds in collision. This this is definitely something. So I'm gonna share my screen and show you this video. Let me get this out of the way, and I want to make this big. Let me see here. I need to put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to play this. I don't think it's going to um, play the person speaking in the video, which is fine. I just want you to see. So the blue box that you see here, this is the sun. Okay, this is one of NASA's pieces of equipment called SOHO, which I've been keeping an eye on for 22, 23 years now. And this is another new instrument that NASA has that watches the Earth. So this is Earth, okay, right here. That you're looking at Earth. All right. And this is from the GOES 16 SUV1. This is their composite, okay? And you can see the dates. This is on 10/29. This just happened a few days ago. All right. So now watch this and keep an eye on the one with Earth in it, okay? We'll look at the one about the sun here in a moment because I want to speak of some of this stuff too. So hold on, let me just do this real quick. There we go. Okay. Now watch. Do you see that? I'm going to back it up and play it again. Now watch, because some type of energy actually hits the earth that creates this distortion. And I don't know if this is like, I don't know if this violent wobble created two Earths, or if this violent wobble distorted the dimensions. And for a moment, we were seeing an Earth next to us and then the convergence. So just watch again. I mean, what in the world is going on? What is that? Did we literally just witness a split in the Earth, two Earths, or did we just witness a convergence? Now, if you'll notice over here in the Soho photograph, there was no flares that came off the sun that created this violent energy wobble, whatever happened there. You'll also notice this big thing here and this big thing here that both have their own energy coming out from them. You see, that's not from the sun, that's from whatever these are. And I believe that these are planets that belong to our dwarf star that's in our solar system. And I'm going to show you why I believe that, because there's actually, how do I move this bar out of my way? Can I move this whole thing? Oh, there we go. I believe that we are in at least a trinary solar system, possibly even 4 stars in our solar system. Now, before I talk about what we're looking at here in this picture, I want to, I'm going to make this bigger so you can see it while I'm talking. Let me move this over here out of the way somewhere. That's better. You can see it better there. Oh, and I need to mute this also. Okay, let me get out of. How am I going to get out of full screen? Why can't I see this right? Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and talk while I figure this out. I just recently discovered that Velikovsky also had discovered that all around the world, people wrote about Venus when it showed up on the scene in our solar system. And they actually thought that it was a comet. They saw it come from out toward Jupiter and come in toward the inner solar system. And they actually all wrote of it as being a comet. Now, I find this very interesting because then it, became stationary and in a fixed orbit around the sun as we know it today. And of course, we also know that Venus is about 800 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very abnormal if it's a planet. And also, Velikovsky wrote that, he believed that we would discover that it was very hot. And it wasn't until about 10 years after his writings about this that he was actually vindicated and proven to be correct on this and finally got his due credit, because they all, in academia, they all thought he was just an idiot and wanted to dismiss everything he said. And if any of you aren't familiar with Velikovsky, the first and very most important thing to read of his literature is Worlds in Collision. Very interesting and insightful. He actually went on a mission around the world to prove that this was actual texts, actual writing from the ancients, and not even that distant in our past. Couple hundred years, I think, actually, from when he was doing his research and investigation on it. But the point of that is to understand that, Jupiter could have very well birthed Venus, if both of them are, in fact, smaller stars in our solar system. Certainly, the dwarf star could have birthed Jupiter or Venus or both. And I believe that our dwarf star is where we can see it now in the sky, which is what you're looking at on this screen, I believe, is if not the dwarf star itself, at least planets that follow it on their elliptical orbit within our solar system. And there's lots of science to back up my theories on this, my hypothesis on this, including but not limited to the perturbations of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, that something much larger than them has to be in our solar system creating their perturbations, their wobble. It has to be massive. And of course, a dwarf star would be massive compared to those planets, even as large as they are. And, that, among other things, gives me confidence in saying publicly, that this is correct, this is factual, that we're in a trinary or more solar system, just like many other solar systems in the universe are. There's actually not one single solar system that we've ever seen with all of our great telescopes, Hubble and the likes of them. There's not one single solar system that we've seen outside of our own that only has one star. They all at least have two. The majority of them have three or four. So it stands to reason that we would too. And I think this is what they meant when they were speaking of Nibiru or wormwood in like the Sumerian texts and Egyptian texts and many old texts that were trying to warn us, the Mayans even. And I think that's the point of their long count calendar, is to keep track of that. And around 2012 would have been where we would start seeing it from the southern parts of our planet, if in fact we were in this binary, trinary type solar system. So I've been studying this since 2003 and actually discovered that in 1984, again in 1993 or 95, I'm not exact on my dates, and then again in 2003, there was articles in the Washington Post and the New York Times speaking of this planetary body that we could see beyond Jupiter or Neptune, that each 10 years when they checked back in on it was much closer in the solar system than they expected it to be, which meant that its speed was much faster than they had anticipated, and it was much larger each of those 10 years that they checked in on it. And then they dropped it in 2003, and they didn't talk about it to the public any further. Well, then we've got all kinds of other things that happen to us to keep us distracted and to keep us from looking at the skies, because now we should be seeing them in our skies. As you can see right here, folks, we do. We are seeing them in our sky. And definitely this is going to affect us on planet Earth. Likely it will create a pole shift, which also is what I anticipate from my research, is that a pole shift will happen. And we've been watching Earth changes, all sorts of Earth changes leading up to now that suggest that a rapid pole shift is impending upon us. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. There are many different areas of science who agree with me on this, whether it be through tracking the North Pole moving so quickly, the currents in the Pacific and the Atlantic heating up and cooling down at a different rate of speed, ice core samples, tree ring samples, all sorts of things are pointing toward this has happened in our past, it will happen in our future, and it's upon us now. So I'm going to just play this real quick. I don't know why in the world I can't see here. Okay, I need to mute her. And you just watch this here because they've got all these, chemtrail bullshit across it. Like that's camouflaging something, right? So you see this great big planetary looking body and all these like crater dots in it everywhere. And it even has color distortion to it, only in this sphere. This is not a sundog. This is not, I don't care what anybody says, this is not a sundog, or these chemtrails would not be in front of it. These clouds would not be in front of it. And then these other clouds going behind it, where you can actually see the edge of it there. This is not a sundog. This is something that's physically out there. And then you've got this other little planetary body here up in front of it, right? So, I mean, clearly something is going on out there in our skies above us. Something way bigger than what we've been told our whole lives about our solar system and the history of these cataclysms that happen on our planet. And I'm not bringing this to your attention so that you can be fearful at all. I'm actually bringing this to your attention so that you can be empowered to know how to survive this impending pole shift and trinary planetary visits, because it is going to come with its own solar system. Keep that in mind. It has its own mini solar system that follows it. Comets, asteroids, satellites, moons, planets, all included, right? And this is definitely this energy that's happening is affecting our planet already. Okay. Um, and I don't know if we just did our timeline convergence here or if we just did some kind of earth split and Dolores Cannon's thing about two earths just happened. But yeah, you can clearly see there's something moving here toward the sun, um, a little faster than what we would expect it to be moving, if it's a planet. So maybe that's spacecraft. It could be a, big ass mothership out there. I'm not sure what those are exactly. But I do know that our dwarf star and its mini solar system was to start being seen from the southern regions of the sun to begin with, and we've already seen many things about that as well. So, and if you follow that guy on YouTube that's called Planet X News, he has some really great footage that shows all of that. Oh my God. I forget how to end screen share. It's been so long since I've used Zoom. Okay, anyway, let me make this smaller. Okay, so I'm just going to let that play and let you keep watching it for a little bit because this is so interesting to me. And I want your thoughts on it. I want you all to comment on what you think we're seeing here. Is this a convergence of the two timelines? Or is this a split where we're creating a new Earth? I personally never really bought into the whole new Earth thing, like that in that sense. I've always felt like we will create the new Earth ourselves just from changing things the way they go. And here it is. Now I got it fixed. And what else do I want to say about this? I'm gonna get my thoughts together here for a minute because there's a lot running around in my mind right now. Um, I want you all to be empowered, is what I was saying a few minutes ago. I want you to be knowledgeable. I don't want you to be fearful. I want you to know that you have the ability to guide these changes, right? Um, we have within us the ability to change things, to manifest things, to make things happen. And it all depends on your choice in feeling limited or feeling like you don't have the control versus no limitations and confidence, zero doubt, confidence that you are in control, no matter how sci-fi or woo-woo it sounds. And I've got a new video that I'm going to do pretty soon to try to remove some of the woo-woo from all of this, to show you that this is really grounded, scientifically backed information that I'm giving to you. This is not woo-woo. This is not new age. This is not bullshit. It's real. Um, Let me just give you an example of the whole thought process, right? When I got bit by a brown recluse, my it was an ankle bite. I was bit near my ankle, but my whole leg swelled up all the way up to my thigh. Okay, because in my mind, this spider venom plays a part in my odds of probability. I was giving giving up part of my free will change and choice in the matter. Do you see? Versus when I chopped the tip of this finger off, for real, this finger, I chopped the tip of it off all the way down to the bone, right there, all the way down to the knuckle with a hatchet, splitting wood. I knew it was going to happen before it happened, but I was already in mid swing. There was no stopping it. So I knew if I slowed down, it would make it worse. So I just kept going full force and made a clean cut. Um, but I knew I had a choice in the matter to grow my finger back. And the video that I'm going to do actually has the science behind how we have DNA memory, and we have genes within our DNA that are activated through thought to grow back limbs, grow back organs, grow back whatever we need to have, right? Um, so again, it goes back to thought. The amputee that loses a foot thinks they don't have a choice in the matter. They've lost their foot. Uh, their DNA memory still feels the foot and it itches even. I learned this when my grandmother had her feet amputated because she was a diabetic. Uh, she could still feel her feet, and sometimes they would tickle, sometimes they would itch, sometimes they would feel like they were asleep. They weren't even there. The DNA memory was still there. So if she had not had resigned to I'm an amputee now, she very well could have grew her feet back. And I have scientific data that's going to back that up for my next video that I'm doing to show you. But my point here is I already knew that I have the choice to grow the finger back, the digit. So I didn't try to save the top of my finger. I didn't go to the hospital. I didn't go to see my doctor. I didn't pop a bunch of antibiotics. I put comfrey and plantain on the top of my finger. I packed it tight, wrapped it in gauze bandage, and left it wrapped up for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. I didn't uncover it, didn't peek at it. Um, you know, my husband at the time would look at my finger and my hand periodically and watch for red veins, red, because that means you're getting a blood infection. And he was convinced that that's what was going to happen to me. And I was convinced that it wouldn't. I was convinced that I was going to just grow my finger back and everything was going to be fine. And he was convinced he was going to have to take me to the hospital. So it's a good thing that the odds of probability were not against me because of his thought being negative and not having the zero doubt. And it's a good thing that I actually did have zero doubt because his influence could have changed things, right? Odds of probability. My point here is I didn't have any doubt that I was going to grow that finger back. So I did. I mean, it's there. It's perfectly good. There's not even a scar. I mean, it's a perfectly good finger. Works just like the other one did. But the brown recluse bite, I have a huge bullseye scar on my ankle. I have other scars on me in different places. Some of you may have noticed those before when I wear sleeveless shirts, where that venom, it goes into your deep muscle tissue and then it tries to find another way out. So it erupts out of you in different places. I have like 6 or 7 different scars, um, not just the one bite, you know. But I had given up part of my power to that spider bite. I resigned that I didn't have a choice in the matter 100%. I, I figured in the odds of probability of the spider venom, which was a learning experience, not a mistake. It was a very painful learning experience, and it took me a really long time to recover from that brown recluse bite. Um, Again, I didn't recover with modern medicine either. I used holistic medicines and the power of the mind to heal me. And it took me longer to heal because I gave up part of my power. And then it took me many years to understand that, even to apply it to what I'm saying here. So, my point of bringing this up to you is for you to understand that if you look up into the sky, my eye itches. If you look up into the sky and you see a large planetary body and you just immediately resign that we're doomed, that's going to be your scenario. That's going to be your outcome. But if you look up to that sky and you see that planetary body and you know that you can, with whatever method you need to, and you don't even have to have a specific method, you can simply just think, this is not going to hurt us. And that sticks. That thought sticks with zero doubt, you see. With zero doubt, we create, we manifest. So if you're looking at that planetary body or this mini solar system, depending on how many we can actually see in the sky, and you don't let fear in, and you have confidence that we can change this outcome to where we get out of this much better than the Mayans did or the Sumerians when they wrote about this event happening in their time. We've really achieved something here. Not only do we get off unscathed or barely skinned, barely scuffed up, however you want to look at that. But we also take this quantum leap in our evolution of understanding just who we are. It's very vital that you understand who you are. It's vital, not just for you, but for me, for everyone, for the whole planet, for everything that lives on this planet. It's vital that we wake up now to this. And this is the bulk of the reason of why this is the great awakening, because there's many levels of awakening that everyone goes through. And many of you have already went through several initiations, several levels of waking up. And so you are the ones, we are the ones that we've been waiting for that can change this. Why would they write about a harbinger or a doomsday prophecy if there wasn't something we could do to change it, right? Much like, why would I have a psychic vision if there's nothing I can do to alter the outcome by knowing the event ahead of time? There's always a reason that you're being shown. There's always a reason that you're learning. There's always a reason for a warning. So Our ancestors knew there was something really magical about us that could change this outcome. And I feel like, according to their calculations, they thought by the time it comes around again, the evolution of man in his spiritual reach and connection to God again would empower us enough to be ready for this moment, to actually effectively change the outcome this time. And I have said my entire life that I was here for the Great Awakening. I'm not here to convince you of believing a certain way, or how do I want to say this? It's not my job to wake you up if you're not ready to be awake. But it is my job to show you what you can do with what you have and have had since birth, every birth you've ever had. You've always had it. I can show you how to use it. I can show you what it is. I can show you how to tap into it and enhance it. That's my job. Okay. So if you truly want to learn more about who you are, you need to contact me. Go to my website, email me, leave a comment down below in the video, and I will reach out to you and help you with all of this. I'm going to start trying to do some interactives uh, with myself and my brother to demonstrate how to tap into your abilities and use them. Fun exercises to do, fun things that we would do when we were practiced together to learn this and to apply the scientific method, because I don't want you to just take my word for anything. And you can't just take my word for it. You have to apply it yourself. You've got to see it to believe it, right? But you also need to believe it in order to see it first. So I need you to walk in some sense of faith in yourself, in your own knowing of yourself, in order to apply the scientific method to it so that you can see it, to believe it, to confirm what you already believe. You see? So we're going to do some interactives. I'm going to start doing some Zoom calls with my brother as well, so that you can just sort of listen in on our conversations in order to learn quicker. Because I think it's easier to learn if you're just listening to the conversation, like you're a part of it, where it happens organically, uh, versus lectures or me doing like video lessons. And I hate reading stuff off that I've wrote, because either I'm going to get sidetracked or I'm going to sound like a robot, and neither one makes me feel comfortable. Um, and I want things to be organic. I want them to flow easily. So that's why I've kind of put a halt on doing things that way. And I mean, I really need for you to have this information. It is my mission. And I really want for you to have this information. I really want you to flourish. I want the entire planet to flourish. Um, the whole point of my name being EarthSong is because as we wake up and collectively unite, each of our vibrations, each of our harmonic sound that we naturally make in our own frequency, our own vibration, they converge together to make this really beautiful um, sound that's like music. Okay, it's like a song. It doesn't have words, but it has vibration and it has sound. And this harmonic convergence of us collectively vibrating at our highest abilities is a beautiful song that will resonate across the entire planet. And even if there's 10 of us, it amplifies the song. And if there's 10,000 of us, it amplifies the song even broader and louder. And so we are Earth's song. We are the collective that is the harmonic convergence that is necessary. This sound vibration, it's spoke of in the Bible. It's spoke of in many Egyptian texts, Sumerian texts, Indian texts. The monks know of it. This sound vibration can manipulate matter. It can manipulate and create, and even gravity. It can manipulate and defy gravity, even. So we can do this together simply by raising our frequency, our vibration within us. And how do you do that? You do that with knowing yourself and having that confidence in yourself, truly loving yourself, because you are an immaculate being yourself. You're amazing. You're miraculous. I'm miraculous. We're all miraculous together, and we can do big things. We can do powerful things together, including protecting our beloved planet Earth with our song from these outer solar system interferences. And yeah, even if we have the pole shift happening, well, it's not an even if, it's when we have this pole shift, we can even control that, because you have to keep in mind, when the pole shift happens, that means all of our shields are down, and like gravity has no hold on us, has no tether, briefly. And this will likely happen, repeatedly several times until the planet's um, poles recalibrate and pick a new direction. And I feel like that it'll be more east to west will be our north and south, um, sort of on a diagonal there, but leaning more toward due east and west than not, um, is where I feel like it's going to go. But I mean, this is going to cause drastic, talk about climate change. This is going to cause drastic climate change. Um, Here where I live in Indiana will become subtropical, and it's already working its way to being subtropical, with the creeping of the North Pole moving anyway. Um, it's much muggier and much more wet here than it used to be, and hot, much hotter than it used to be as well. We are turning subtropical and have been for 20, 30 years, to be very noticeable. But really, in the last 5, it's become truly amped up, truly quick pace changes. And so I want you to pay attention to those things. I want you to educate yourself. I want you to do the research if necessary. Go and look at the weather changes that are happening. Go and look at SOHO and NASA's JPL, Jet Propulsion telescopes. Pay attention to what the Los Alamos satellites are picking up on, and telescopes are picking up on. The Vatican's telescope that is on top of the sacred mountain in Arizona, that's called Lucifer, it's up there watching for our dwarf star. It sees an infrared. It's watching for the harbinger to come. These people in power and control have known for a very long time that we're in a multi-star system instead of a single star system like they teach us in school. And, remind yourself again, public school is owned by the government. So the government controls the knowledge. This is why I homeschool my kids. I don't need to say any more about that. I don't trust them to teach my children anything. We know they lie to us. We know they keep things from us. I don't care what their reason is. I don't care if they do think it's a good reason. I didn't vote for them to make that choice for me. You know, you didn't vote for them to make that choice. So I don't trust that shit. I don't trust it at all. Um, and I've done my research and I've done a lot of digging and I have found a lot of information on this, facts to back this up. And then I still watched as things played out and the years went by. I watched and I listened and I learned and I studied, and all of it is adding up to this. I am 100% confident we are in a multi star solar system, complete with other planetary bodies. And let's face it, we've already found 5 other planets out there on an elliptical orbit beyond Pluto. I mean, what governs them? It's not our main star that we call the sun, or they wouldn't be on an elliptical orbit. There's another large body out there that governs them because they're in the other solar part of our solar system, the mini solar system within our system. And if you study astrology and understand that, then you understand the space sciences laws, right? The laws of the solar system. And the math adds up, the laws add up, etc. So I want you to really think about that and prepare for it internally. Prepare for it. I'm not saying go get your food storages and go learn how to wildcraft herbs to make medicines and stuff. Those are all good things to learn. And I know all of those things. But the first thing you need to do is know thyself. So, and that's my job to teach that. I can teach you how to know yourself. I can teach you how to love yourself. I can teach you how to get up to speed if you're awake enough, if you're open-minded enough, and if you're willing to learn and do the work, because you're going to have to practice. Think of yourself as an avatar or an airbender, right? Or a waterbender. You have to master this, and you have to master it in record time, which I have no doubt that you could do. You're completely capable of doing that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be wasting my time here. I would just be focused on what I know to do and hoping for the best. But you can change this outcome, and we are strong in numbers. There's power in numbers that has many meanings. Many meanings, folks. There is power in numbers. So I ask you to take this seriously. Replay the beginning of this video. Watch that wild shakeup wobble that our planet just went through. And again, keep in mind, this happened on the 29th of October. And there were numerous people all over social media, the platforms that I watch, that were all talking about feeling very agitated that day and having headaches out of nowhere that they didn't know where they came from, ringing in their ears, dizziness. These are all symptoms of this energy pulse that we just experienced on this planet. And either 2 timelines just converged, or we just had an earth split and created a new earth. That remains to be seen. As time goes on, we will see for sure just what really happened. And how will we know? If the timelines have converged, that means the majority of somebody has won, right? So is it the majority of the light and that timeline that we're on, where we're all on the same page for the good of the planet, the good of mankind, the good of our nations, with, no frauds, no thefts? You know what I'm saying? Or, I mean, there's two sides to that point, of course, because the dark could have outweighed the light, which I doubt is the case. But of course, it is an option of the two sides to consider there for the timeline converging. Then there's the new Earth split. Did we just create a new Earth? And if so, um, what does that look like for us in our future? Well, it would be that anybody that's still here with us in this timeline, in this Earth, on this Earth, would be more agreeable and more in harmony with or alignment with trying to create the harmony and the balance, more amicable. And the ones that aren't would suddenly just start disappearing out of our life, the way it talks about in the Bible, where two people will be in the field, one will be left, and the other will be taken, right? So time's going to play out, show us just really what happened here, if this was a timeline convergence or split into two Earths. I personally am leaning toward the convergence. I think it's a timeline convergence that just happened. Um, that's really what I think just happened. I think that that great shakeup is what created this convergence that funnels us down to one timeline. And I feel like that's why the looking glass and the yellow cube, yellow book, and the black cube are all showing the two timelines converging and collapsing down into one, and it always being the same outcome, always being the same outcome. Odds of probability don't change it. Doesn't matter what they do back here to tinker with things, create Mandela effects, create deja vu. It's always the same outcome because nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. That is inevitable. That timeline shift is inevitable. The light wins in that timeline. The light wins in that scenario. Good wins. God wins. Okay. Now, you want to amplify that? Know thyself and help me and thousands of other light workers and volunteers and people who are awake across this great globe to shield us when shields go down, to protect us for anything we need protected from, whether it be domestic or foreign. Double meanings, multiple meanings. You know who you are. Empower yourself. Love yourself. And let's sing a song. That Coke song is playing in my mind. Remember the old Coca-Cola song? I'd like to give the world a Coke. And something about perfect harmony. You know the song, I'm sure. If you're old enough, you know the song. It was a beautiful song. We loved singing it. Loved the commercial. Not that I'm giving Coca-Cola any props or anything, but you know what I'm saying. It's that song. And that song is what's playing in my head right now. Because that's our kumbaya moment. Without the woo-woo. With full Mel Gibson in Braveheart, determination and power and pride in winning. We win all the way around if you know yourself and you join this harmonic convergence and sing Earth's song of love and protection and unity. We all have this ability, and many of us were born into this lifetime for this moment in time And it's time to wake up and remember. So wake up, sleepyheads. Let's get to work. All right. I'm going for now. Much love. Talk to you soon.